Before you grab that shovel and dig up your clematis, I want you to stop. That brown, crispy, lifeless-looking vine you've written off as dead, there's a very good chance it isn't. Clematis have a secret most gardeners never learn, and it's the reason so many people rip out a perfectly recoverable plant every single spring. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how to tell whether your clematis is truly gone or just sleeping. And then I'm going to hand you 5 natural fertilizers that can pull it back from the edge faster than anything you'll buy in a bag. No expensive products, no guesswork. Just things you very likely already have sitting in your kitchen or garden shed right now. Stay with me, because the 5th one is the one nobody talks about, and it's the one that triggers new growth almost overnight. Is it actually dead? Here's the truth about clematis that changes everything. When a clematis looks dead above the soil, the plant itself is very often still alive below it. The crown and roots sit protected underground, and even when the top growth collapses, browns out, or gets hit by wilt, the living heart of the plant can be sitting there completely intact, waiting for a reason to push again. This is why clematis have a reputation for coming back from the dead. They're not resurrecting, they were never fully gone. Your job isn't to perform a miracle. Your job is to give the roots the one thing they're starving for, and to give it in a form the plant can use immediately. So let's do a quick check before we feed. Find the base of your plant, right where the stems meet the soil. Scratch a fingernail gently along one of the thicker, older stems near the bottom. If you see green underneath that thin brown skin, that stem is alive. If it's brown and dry all the way through and snaps like a dry twig, that stem is gone. But keep checking lower, go all the way down to the crown. Even if every visible stem is dead, scrape the soil back an inch or two around the base and look for firm, pale, living tissue and any small reddish or white buds pushing near ground level. Those little swellings are your future vine. If you find even one, your clematis is alive, and everything I'm about to tell you will work. Cut away everything that's genuinely dead and dry, right back to living tissue or to just above a living bud, and then we feed. Now, let's get into it. Fertilizer 1. Comfrey tea, the potassium power. The first one is Comfrey tea, and if you've never made it, you're about to fall in love with it. Comfrey is a leafy plant with deep roots that mine potassium and other minerals from far down in the soil and store them in their leaves at concentrations most plants can only dream of. Clematis are hungry for potassium above almost anything else because potassium is the nutrient that drives flowering, strengthens stems, and helps a stressed plant regulate water inside its own cells. To make the tea, you cram a bucket with comfrey leaves, weigh them down, cover them with water, and let them steep for 2 to 4 weeks until you've got a dark, potent, admittedly foul-smelling liquid. Dilute it heavily, roughly 1 part comfrey brew to 10 parts water, until it looks like weak tea, and pour it around the root zone. Because it's already a liquid packed with dissolved minerals, the roots start drinking it in immediately. If you don't have a batch brewing already, start one today, because this is the single best long-term feed you can give a clematis, and it costs you nothing but a few leaves and a little patience. Quick one, if you actually want a step-by-step guide for all this, maybe your plant's struggling, or you just can't get it to bloom, I put every fix into one cheat sheet. You get everything in my Plant Fix and Bloom cheat sheet. It's the first link in the description. Let's continue. Fertilizer 2, wood ash. Sweeten the soil clematis crave. The second is wood ash, and this one is almost tailor-made for clematis in a way that most gardeners completely overlook. Clematis prefers soil that leans slightly alkaline, what old gardeners call sweet soil. Over the years, rain, mulch, and decaying organic matter slowly push soil in the opposite direction, turning it more acidic, and a clematis sitting in soil that's drifted too sour will sulk, refuse to bloom, and weaken. Wood ash from a clean fire, real wood only, nothing treated, painted, or from charcoal briquettes, is rich in potassium and calcium and gently raises the pH back towards the sweet spot your clematis is craving. Sprinkle a light dusting, no more than a handful, in a ring around the base, keeping it a few inches off the stems, and water it in. Do this sparingly once in early spring because a little goes a long way and too much will swing the soil too far. But for a clematis that's been quietly starving in acidic ground, this small correction can be the difference between a plant that limps along and one that suddenly finds its feet again. Fertilizer 3. Epsom salt, the emergency green up. The third is an Epsom salt solution, and this is your emergency fix for a clematis whose leaves are yellowing while the veins stay green. That specific pattern, pale leaf with dark veins, is the classic signature of a magnesium shortage, and magnesium sits right in the center of every chlorophyll molecule the plant makes. Without it, your clematis literally cannot build the green machinery it uses to feed itself, and a plant that can't photosynthesize can't recover, no matter how much else you give it. Epsom salt is magnesium sulfate, and it dissolves completely in water, which means it's available to the roots the instant it touches the soil. Stir 1 tablespoon into a gallon of water until it fully dissolves, then drench the root zone. Within days, you'll often see the new leaves come in a deeper, healthier green because you've handed the plant the exact missing ingredient it needed to switch its own engine back on. Use this 2 or 3 times through the season if the yellowing keeps showing, and no more, because magnesium is a corrector, not a daily meal.
Fertilizer 4. Banana peel and molasses ferment. Unlock the potassium fast. The fourth is a banana peel and molasses ferment, and this is where we do something a little clever that most people never think to try. Banana peels are famous for being loaded with potassium, but on their own, buried in the ground, they take ages to rot down and release it, so we speed the whole thing up. Chop 2 or 3 banana peels, drop them into a jar, add a tablespoon of unsulfured molasses, cover it all with water, and let it sit for 3 or 4 days with the lid loose. The molasses does something magic here. It's pure food for the beneficial microbes in the mix, and as those microbes wake up and multiply, they break down the banana peels far faster than soil ever could, unlocking that potassium and pulling it into the water. When you strain it off and dilute it into a watering can, you're not just feeding the plant, you're pouring a wave of hungry, active microbes straight into the root zone, and those microbes keep working in the soil long after you've walked away, converting nutrients into forms your clematis can grab. It's a fertilizer and a soil life booster in one, and it turns kitchen scraps you'd have thrown away into something genuinely powerful. Fertilizer 5. Seaweed extract. The one that tells it to grow. The fifth is the one I promised you, the one almost nobody talks about, and it's seaweed or kelp extract. Here's why it belongs in a class of its own. Every other feed on this list gives the plant nutrients, the raw materials it needs. Seaweed does something different. Alongside a rich spread of trace minerals, kelp naturally contains plant growth hormones, the auxins and cytokines that actually signal a plant to wake up, divide its cells, and push new roots and new shoots. Think about the difference. The others hand your clematis the bricks. Seaweed hands it the instruction to start building. For a plant that's alive at the crown but sitting there dormant, unsure whether it's safe to grow again, that hormonal nudge can be exactly the trigger that breaks the stall. Mix liquid seaweed at the strength on the bottle, or brew it yourself if you have access to fresh seaweed by steeping it in water for a couple of weeks and water it into the root zone. You can even use it diluted as a gentle foliar spray on any surviving leaves, where it's absorbed directly. This is the feed that more than any other tends to produce that it came back to life overnight moment, because you're not just nourishing the plant, you're telling it to grow. Now, how to feed it right. Now let me give you the part that ties all of this together, because how you feed matters as much as what you feed. Always water your clematis thoroughly before you apply any liquid feed, never onto bone-dry soil, because a parched plant can be shocked by concentrated nutrients hitting dry roots. Feed into most ground and everything absorbs gently and evenly. Concentrate everything at the root zone, out where the roots actually spread, not jammed against the main stems. And remember the golden rule of clematis. They want cool, shaded roots and a sunny top. As you're nursing yours back, tuck a mulch of compost, leaves, or even a few flat stones over the root area to keep it cool and moist, and you'll dramatically improve how well all 5 of these feeds do their job. Feed with intention, not in a panic. A Comfrey drench or seaweed every couple of weeks through the growing season, the Epsom salt only when you see yellowing, and the wood ash just once in spring is a rhythm that revives without overwhelming. So here's what I want you to do. Go outside today before you do anything else and check that clematis you'd given up on. Scrape back the soil at the base. Look for that living green. Look for those little buds near the ground, and I think a lot of you are about to be very pleasantly surprised. Then pick whichever of these 5 you can put your hands on fastest, because the truth is you probably already own at least 2 of them, and give your plant its first real meal in what may have been a very long time. This is exactly the kind of hands-on, no-nonsense reviving we do here every single week, taking plants everyone else has written off and bringing them roaring back. So if that's what you're here for, make sure you subscribe and turn on the bell so the next revival lands right in your feed. And do me a favor, come back and tell me in the comments which fertilizer you tried and whether your clematis pushed new growth, because there is genuinely nothing better than watching one of you save a plant you were moments away from throwing out. Remember the promise this whole channel is built on: revive it, then make it bloom. I'll see you in the next one.